Fish would dart through them or hover right in front of his face, opening and closing their mouths. He liked that the most. He gave them little names, but he was never sure if the names belonged to the right fish. Occasionally, they would dart around each other as if in petty disputes, or he would watch in horror as a bigger fish would blot out the sunlight and snap up his friends. That was the worst, but by and large, he could not complain. Then something else happened, forever dividing his memory into a before and after. There was an little light glimmered far above, and he could see the weeds all around. When little fish would dart through them or hover right in front of his face, opening and closing their mouths, he liked that the most. He gave them little names, but he was never sure if the names belonged to the right fish. Occasionally, they would dart around each other as if in petty disputes, or he would watch in horror as a bigger fish would blot out the sunlight and snap up his friends. That was the worst, but by and large, he could not complain. Then something else happened, forever dividing his memory into a before and after. There was an orange glow from beneath his vision, and he felt himself moving and realized that he had a body. It was strange. He was never certain of that before, and he caught glimpses of it as he was wrenched out of the silt. As he rose, the roots of the seaweeds tore from around him, and this upset him. Everything was wrong. He moved through the darkness for a long time, and then he was drawing closer, closer to that cold light that rippled above him, and he could not stop himself. His view changed dramatically then, and it was so incredibly bright that it burned to look at. He was looking out on a huge expanse of water, cold and black, and as his vision pivoted, he saw pavement. Huge, crumbling shapes he recognized as buildings leaned into the water, hollow and abandoned. Standing on a pier that had not yet sunk, there was a man wearing a crisp suit decorated with florals. One hand held an open book, and in the other a raised umbrella, beckoning him closer. He touched down gently onto the pier, and it rocked under his weight. Things were falling off of him. Tangles of weeds, lengths of rusted chains, pieces of mud and silt, pouring away with a great volume of water. He realized that he had a hand of his own, and one big claw, like the crabs that had sometimes scuttled by. He looked at it in awe. When he thought about it moving, it did just as he thought, and the sharp points could pinch together or go wide apart. "Hello," the voice said from beyond, and the man in the suit was stepping towards him, tucking the book into his jacket. The man was speaking words. "My name is Polly. What's yours?" He understood the words, and they were the first that he had ever heard. He knew he was supposed to answer with a word of his own, but he did not know it, and this made him very sad. He looked around in vain for words. There were some on the buildings behind, like shop and gift and mort you airy. One would have to do. He thought of a name, and a voice he did not recognize spoke it. Mort. A bit on the nose, don't you think? The man grinned as he bent down, right in front of Mort's face, and his teeth were as white as the sun on the ocean. "I hate to disturb your rest, but I'm in need of a little security. Do you know how to use that thing?" He tapped Mort's big claw with his umbrella, and Mort opened and closed it. "Good," Polly said, and stepped away. Mort felt compelled to follow, and looked down to realize his body was sitting, and he willed it to up and move. It did, and it hissed and steamed as it lurched into motion. He had so many questions, but one came unprompted from his voice, as soon as he had even thought of it. "Are you my friend?" Polly stopped, looked back, and laughed. "Yes, Mort, I am your friend." He kept walking, and Mort went after him, and his body followed, and only for a moment did he stop, catching a reflection in a shop's broken glass window. The reflection showed a skull in a dome of black water, a huge metal body with articulated joints and pipes, and a claw with sharp blades. There were eyes in the skull, eyes that glimmered green like the sun through seaweed. Mort did not enjoy the view at all, and left it to walk with his new friend into the woods. Books. They are sacred to humans in a way that transcends religion and creed. To hold one is to touch a life not your own, to learn directly from the mind of someone else. They also smell nice. To burn one represents the demise of pigment and plant product, but also the destruction of thought, a desperate bid to stop those who might have gained knowledge or courage or acceptance from their printed letters. Books speak to the mind in ways that the spoken word cannot. They are a catalyst for perspective, a fire that burns for change and for better. Thankfully, ideas are not destroyed as easily as books. For ideas now and future, I am your host, Nick, waiting patiently for your return to the Hallowoods. The voice of Valerie Maidstone is Andrea Hilborn, a naturopath and historical. Your body is a temple, and you are its god. Are you pleased by its design? Every loose tapestry thread and flaw in the stone is sacred. If you are human, you have only one temple, and you will dwell in its halls and speak from its sanctum until the day your spirit leaves it. If you are not human, if you are older and greater and far more wicked, then your temple is infinite, a labyrinth of holy design, changing like the ocean and reborn like the stars. I am not a temple. I am a world of worship, and in my burning heart, the writing on the wall says this: "Hello from the Hallowoods." Right now, I'm peering in through a 16th-story window. The world looks different. It had not yet abandoned hope, and bright, oblivious minds talked of things like philosophy and democracy and expected to change history. History did change on this night, dreamers, and the rains that poured down on the earth were a cure and a hideous plague. The theme of tonight's episode is bodies. Dylan could not sleep, but the rain continued to fall. It seemed heavier than usual as it pattered against his window, black rivulets blurring the light of the city as they trickled down. He shifted to stare at the ceiling, but the fan gave him no peace either, spinning like his mind. Thunder shook his apartment, rolling in inevitable tides across the night. He swung his legs out of bed. "Where are you going?" Ashley muttered darkly as he pulled out of her arms. "Can't sleep," he said quietly, pulling on his clothes. "Going for a walk." "In the rain?" she groaned, but by the time he stepped out of the bedroom, she slumbered again. Dylan passed the raincoat hanging in the parlor and walked out into the night. He got the feeling somehow that he wasn't going to need it. He stepped into the storm and was lovingly embraced by the wind. Rain poured down like the attention of a lover, and he raised his face and hands to the sky, letting it pool in his mouth and his palms. It filled his eyes with visions, wrote dark inscriptions on his tongue. A thought occurred to him with certainty. Soon he would rest. He began to walk and did not look back on the apartment building. He made no goodbyes. All he felt was tired, he thought, and all he wanted was to sleep. He was going to walk until he got home, and then he was going to sleep forever. He could think of nothing else. The sun rose on silver towers, and the city was changed from the night before. In his personal essays, he might have called it a revolution. He shied away from the fires burning in the street. They were too bright for his weary eyes. It was nearly night again when the high-rises and overpasses and clusters of food vendors had faded into a singular highway. He followed beside it for some time, and many more suns spiraled across the sky, plunging him into brilliant starry nights. One star in particular drew him onward, and although the tread had vanished from his untied shoes and his clothes were tattered, he followed. Eventually the star and the highway led in different directions, and he chose the star. He paid no mind to the tear of the earth on his feet. He pushed through empty fields, into thick brush and between the forest trees. He knew with certainty that soon he would get to sleep. The rising and setting of the sun became a singular flicker in his vision, instantaneous and constant, serving no purpose except to draw him closer to his bed. The urge to sleep was powerful, and he could barely keep his eyes open, and he knew that he was getting close. It was just trees now, and had been for a long time, flying past him with blackened trunks and piercing green needles. The stars spun in great circles above him, spinning like his mind. He stepped through the last gateway of spruce branches and onto the shores of a lake. More of a pond, really, but the waters looked dark and soothing. A bedspread of lily pads and pale white flowers was laid out on its surface. Dylan breathed a sigh of relief and stepped into the water. He did not mind as it filled his nostrils and poured into his lungs, for the urge to breathe no longer troubled him. He closed his eyes in peaceful meditation, as though saying a prayer before bed, and above him the golden light of many afternoons filtered through murky waters. Moss and pondweeds grew in the cracks between his ribs, acting as a hiding place for eels and little fish. The waters grew cold and froze in winter, hiding him under their covers, and grew comfortable in the warmer weather, when he became a home to tadpoles and a cascade of white lily flowers. The flowers grew in a crown above his resting place, and he wondered if they would match his green eyes. Let me sleep forever, he thought, until the suns stop rising. As the black rains fell on the surface of the lake above, Dylan closed his eyes and fell asleep. Dreamers, if you live in the Hallowoods and you are mortal, you are advised not to interact with any being you believe not to be alive. You may find them asleep in soft ponds and marsh beds, singing quiet songs amid the frogs and thrushes. Sometimes they may exhibit frightening disfigurements and walk across your lawn or become trapped in your garden shed. You must understand that revenants, the returned, do not perceive reality the way you do. Be gentle in your approach and conversation if you attempt it. For professional removal of revenants from your premises, call Walter Pensive's groundskeeping. Walt may look weary in his battered coveralls, but he has many years of experience in dealing with dead things, both peaceful and otherwise. If you are wary of strangers, watch your driveway for a white hearse with a logo on the side. Walt accepts cash, check, scout coin, barter, strange artifacts from the old country, and hot meals. We go now to one who would cause Walt to hesitate in his profession. Diggory Graves was not lonely, but they were not alone. They had walked many more miles since leaving the ruined house behind, and when they closed their eyes, they could almost feel the heat of the burning piano. The scenery was beginning to look familiar, and Diggory was not sure if this was good. Certainly not good was the crackling that echoed through the forest as something large broke through the underbrush. Diggory stood very still as it grew louder, and glanced around the moonlit clearing with blank white eyes.
This is the how many times? Yes, let's see. Gonna open. proper like that, not like suffer or nothing. God, sound like I broke a spine. What happened? You like just confident? No, no. You would be like it works badly for your dad. So are you breaking down again? So then you know I had you do this little person. How did I say? Maybe not this day. So are you doing your nails tomorrow? Nails? Or I had to wake up early in the morning and do the shitty shitty. Which shit? The laptop. Oh my god, my burp tastes like something. Take a look. Give me the boxer. You know Obito and his drummer? Obito? Yeah. I know Obito, but I don't know his drummer. Apparently he was mingling with a 2K6, was it 2K7? Basically a oh! Basically a new, yeah, basically, yeah. They're 18. She is 18, but if they were mingling 24, that would be a bit of a problem. Because Obito is a famous dude. I don't know, but the youth seem to like him a lot. I think he's a rapper. Rapper? Oh my god, no, no! Nobba. Give me a buff. What's that? Hey y'all. Decory parade. What is your due date for the introduction? Tomorrow. Okay. Send me the play. Okay.
By surprise as the forest as something large broke through the underbrush. Diggory stood very still as it grew louder, and glanced around the moonlit clearing with blank white eyes.
You should wake up in the morning. You know how? Do you know how? Debbie? Maybe. Were I tired? Yeah. Was you? I wasn't tired then, but I'm kind of tired now. And it's doing damage to the face. I can see it. Why are you still saying a place? It doesn't do damage to my face, unfortunately, but... No, because you've been taking pills. Yes. You're not taking pills. You're in the age. So, my advice, don't do bad one. Okay. Would I take your advice? Would I? all hate him seems to.
Maybe like if they deserve to call me that, but I usually just let people call me whatever they want.
Like a little.
Maybe like if they deserve to call me that, but about what? 5'10"?
Bro, you're like 6'4". What is
6'6" without heels, but that doesn't mean you can just call me whatever you want. I don't know you.
I don't know how to say. What's your favorite music? Kind of music?
I don't really listen to music. I kind of just listen to anime openings. Really, just anime openings and.
要不要？好凶啊！接着，
欲しいのか？
What's up？맛 좀 볼 텐가？ So Viz. Catch. What's up?
怖い。
What's up?
Darn you!
So Viz. Catch.
She's cute. I'm still on the street. Shit. I guess not mono ship as I thought you were. Daddy. Grandma on my bike? No. It was another post before that. What are you doing here, Mama? Oh yeah, I meant to change the screen for her. She's still charging. For her? Yeah. Why? Her screen kind of broke. Really? It only broke like. Really? So sad. Like that. I did. I took it. No, what is that? What is it? Where's Heaven's Gate? I keep seeing this big ass black cat, which is who's like really. Yeah. What? Man. Revelation 2 days ago. This is camera. It is? Yeah. Well, it was, yeah. I think you call from like some bad iPhone something. Yeah. What do I have to do? Take it out? What's this? What? Oh, the smaller one. Wait, is this red? Is this red? No, it's not. Which one is this? Yeah, the big. What's this? Oh, oh. Need to put the phone in there. Okay, first of all, let me show the back. You know how to clean it. Yeah, okay. I put the cleaner. Black one. It's a newbie cleaner. What cleaner? It's the black one. It's here. Is it the soap? I told you to take the black one. You still don't understand. The white. I thought you got an 8.09. And a 9.0 in Italy. We only needed wipes. No. Good. I should stop putting glasses. No. I should stop letting you taking my things. Because I have took it down multiple times. And I never have such big things. What? Whichever. Where's my little mirror? Next time we change it. Maybe change it. Do you know how to do it? What is it? Like that. I don't know the name. Really? I saw you struggle by trying on your Switch phone. You had to change to which music and because I don't have a normal. Okay. See here. How you do it? You do the let's see. You do the what is this? So did we find the instruction here? Where? There. Find it. Maybe but I have put the instruction there. Or maybe I didn't. Any? Oh, is it here? No, it's on the thing, but I don't. Installation. It's on the package, but I don't know. No, this one. Yeah, the package. It's the one stuck inside the bag. Info. Okay, good. What? Why is that throwing it? Throw it away. They're not giving it to use it. Let it be. Do I do it? Can you do it? Do you know how to do it? Then do it then. I'm looking at this. Okay, which one is first? If you finish. I haven't done anything yet. Then finish. You don't know which one is first? That's why I look at I needed the instructions. I thought you made all fast, okay? So what's first? That's the window automatic open. Which one was first or last? I don't know how I'm doing this. Which one first or last? First. Yeah, as easier. Let's do it. Minute. In darkness. What? Yeah, it's a daily thing. It's not a mini. No, but it's more. It's like this the one with the bigger one. I know it. I know we have a bigger one, but they give us the guide stickers on how to use it. The guide sticker is used in another way. Don't say what you want. I just I normally not charge it. I just leave it there. But yeah, the guide stickers are usually just very very light
was the crackling that echoed through the forest as someone to hesitate in his profession. Diggory Graves was not lonely, but they were not alone. They had walked many more miles, fell on the surface of the lake above. Dylan closed his eyes and fell asleep.
I'm sure your laptop cracking again. I don't. No, turn on the camera. Which? The camera. My camera? Yeah. The house camera. Okay. I look like it. What? Hey. You can just check it yourself. No. Alright. Okay, what was it? Just now. Just now, right here. No. Yeah, no. Just wait. Not bad. What did you want to see? Okay. Oh, is it? Oh, that's a really scary sound. Yeah. Wow, that sounds like a scary movie sound. It's like Paranormal Activity, you know that movie? Think. It's not even Totoro, it's a hamster. It's a Totoro! It's a hamster! And I'm listening to the Wi-Fi. No, I'm watching it on the Wi-Fi. So sus. Or is it on here? Where is it? The video, the footage. Is it on video? Can you reset it? Can you update it? This one? Yeah, that's nice. And then you gotta. Going back really quickly. Okay. Drop it. You dropped it, you dumbass. What things in the middle of the toilet? It doesn't detect me. Uh-oh. Oh. Was that fast? No, the camera is just slow. Wow. The fucking pixel is like barely the register. What are you doing?